Today's call is going to be a lot of fun. We haven't done one of these in a while. I'm really excited that I get to host it and walk through some of these questions that we're going to get. Three of the other coaches at Real Estate B School joining us. Everybody's been in business for a long time. Everybody's doing real estate at a high level or has done real estate at a high level. This is your opportunity as our guests on the call to ask us questions about real estate, what we're seeing in the market, what we're seeing with different coaching clients we have, specific questions that you might be thinking of that you're not connected with a coach that you want to get the answers. What you can do is put the questions in the chat. We're going to monitor those. Matt is one of our coaches. I'd love for you just to kind of start off by giving us a little bit about what you've seen with your clients and kind of the industry in general over the last 6 to 12 months. Think about the interactions you've had with people and give us some characteristics of the agents that are winning this year.
One of the things that when I start off with a new coaching client is making sure that they are 100% committed to daily new business development time. So we teach 2 to 3 hours a day on focused new business development, and then also spending at least I push for 3 90-minute working on your business time blocks as well. And those two things, I have found that my clients that are 100% committed to honoring those time blocks consistently are the ones that are building their businesses. When they're consistently putting 2 or 3 hours a day into new business development and having 20 conversations or more every day, those are the people that have a lot of opportunities in front of them. And the people that are spending 2 or 3 90-minute time blocks to set aside that time to work on their business and implement some things that are going to help them find some leverage and grow their business and put the systems in place, that is helping them to move the ball forward. I would say in its most simple terms, the people that are consistently honoring that time are the ones that are moving their businesses forward and have more opportunities than they know what to do with right now.
So on that, Matt, I'm guessing just basic rules, there's probably 80% of the people on this call that have the time blocked in their calendar, but rarely honor that time block. And so I know your business was built on, the phones and you really have built that muscle in your business. What are some of the things that you're working with clients that haven't built that time block muscle or that prospecting muscle? What are some of the things that you're helping them to do in their business to make sure that they can honor those blocks?
Yeah, that's a great question. 20 conversations a day. I say, I don't care who you are or where you're at in your business, like that's never going to be easy, right? For most people, it's never going to be a thing that you're looking forward to doing either. It's just a necessity. I like to draw the analogy of like going to the gym, right? If you haven't been to the gym in a while, you're not going to go and get on a bench press and rep out 225 pounds 20 times, right? It's just not going to happen, right? So you have to, prospecting is like working out. You have to build that muscle, right? What I'll do with people is I'll ask them, okay, well, what do you feel like you can commit to? Like how many conversations over this next week will you commit to making on a daily basis, come hell or high water? No matter how good or bad your day is, whether you feel like it or not, no matter how crazy your day is, how many will you commit to no matter what before you end that day? Even if you're making calls up to 9 o'clock at night, what will you commit to? And so that's been like a really good way, because some people they're willing to start at closer to 20. I do have people that come in that are already prospecting at a high level. Some people it's 5, it might be less, and that's okay. But you have to start somewhere. Decide what you're going to commit to, own it, and then build on it from there.
That's great. I think the way I've kind of done it is just that, get me started. I'm going to work in my CRM 15 minutes every morning. Then it was 30 minutes, and then it just kind of grew. And even if I now I have a team now, and so our team will do group lead gen virtually. So we all get online. I think if anybody on here is struggling with that time block in lead gen or new business development, picking out some people in your market or in another market in this group and saying, hey, would you commit with me? There's a lot of power in just getting on a Google Meet or a Zoom, putting yourself on mute, but having to show up for the people in your group. It's one of the best things that we've done as a team is, we do it, the group lead gen stuff. Greg, you run a team, a lot of agents on there. What are you guys doing to honor those new business development time blocks?
Same thing. I think a lot of us are looking for like, well, man, I'm going to get this secret today. It's going to come to me. I'm going to learn this. And I don't know that that happens in other industries. I don't know if surgeons are sitting around going, boy, I just think like there's going to be some secret that's going to save some time and get these surgeries done quicker. They're just doing their work at a high level and trying to get better. So I don't get tired of it, of going, this is what we need to do. What can I do to help? And then there has to be some discipline backing it up. At the end of the day, much like working out, eating healthy, yesterday was a failure. It doesn't matter. You have to get back up and go, I've got to make my 15 or 20 contacts or whatever your numbers are. And if you're a team leader, it might be recruiting. If you're agents, got to be contacting people who might have the propensity to buy or sell recently. So I don't know if there's any new secrets. Doing it as a group is good. Scheduling is good. But at the end of the day, it is the thing that we have to get done. Very forgiving business. You can screw up everything else, but you get it backwards and get everything else right and screw up that call, you're dead. You make your calls, screw up everything else, not recommended. But if you do, you can fix it. Look at other industries and look at industries that do it well. Hospitals, same thing over and over again. Not tiring of it, just curious and interested to get better. Look at industries that haven't done it real well. Walk through JCPenney recently, go through a Chrysler dealership, and you look at industries that haven't done their core services, their basic function very well. Nobody can figure this out. If Zillow could, we wouldn't be talking here. I'd be bagging your groceries or whatever skill set I might have outside of this. But nobody can figure this out. So you on a small level, one agent, a group of small agents, a group of large agents, doesn't matter. You have the chance to run a small business and make money like you can't believe and have opportunities you can't believe. It's a miracle that we get to do this. And looking at it from that perspective, it might change your mind about contacting people to love and serve them, not to sell them necessarily, though you are going to sell them, but just love and serve. And what a great chance we have in this industry.
Yeah, I agree. Mark, I have a question for you. Mark's had some challenging coaching clients this year. And a lot of the challenges that Mark's clients have had just revolve around mindset. Mark, talk to us just a little bit about how you kind of guide your coaching clients to get the right mindset.
There's a couple different things. I could philosophize on it probably for an hour, but it's, the right mindset really is, first and foremost, I think you have to surround yourself with the right people. That's something, I'm a broken record with that. I teach it to my kids. I say it on every call I'm on. If you're trying to do this, you don't have to do this by yourself. Tony Robbins says that if you've ever been to a Tony Robbins conference, he says, look, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's already invented it, right? Somebody has already done what it is you want to do here. So wrap your mindset around the fact that real estate, and this comes from Lars himself. He taught me this years ago. Real estate is really simple. It's just not easy. So we complicate it in everything that we do in real estate. It's really simple. Like Matt said, I need to speak to X amount of people per day. It's pretty simple. I mean, there's really, like Greg said, like we're looking for this magic pill. None of us love it unless look, I've met a couple people in real estate that do love it. And I think they're kind of strange, but do I love like getting in front of my desk and sitting there for 2 hours and pounding the phones? I don't, but it's become, like Matt said, like going to the gym. It's a muscle. It's just something I know where I'm supposed to be from 8 to 10 or 9 to 11 every single morning. And Ben, like you said, wrap your mindset around the fact that you don't have to do this alone. Go find a running partner, right? Go find somebody that wants to run and climb that mountain with you. And when you find the right people, and a lot of people don't know this, Matt and I have been like really close friends, and we don't even live near each other. We met each other at a coaching program almost 20 years ago. We rode through 2008, crashed together. And that's what we did every day. It was like, how many calls are you going to make? How many are you going to make? And then we would compare notes and get through it. So I would just say the mindset is, simplistically, it's like, look, just you have to commit to this 2-hour time block. That's the business in a nutshell. And it's like that old story, Ben, about the two guys chopping down a tree, and one guy disappears every day for a couple hours, and he says, how did you chop down more trees than I did and you disappear for 2 hours? He said, I went out to go sharpen my axe. So that this is when you're sharpening your axe, so when you're on the phone for 2 hours talking with clients.
But what happens, Mark, when you get somebody on the call and they're just like, man, I'm beat up, I'm beat down, I'm frustrated, I had great plans for 2024, I had a terrible summer, they're feeling really bad mentally, and they have this frustration about the industry, but this is all they know is they want to stick through it. What are you doing to help them see the possibilities of what 2025 can be?
First thing I always say is, like, take a deep breath and take a step back and look, there's so much opportunity. There's always people that need to buy and sell. And this might sound a little trite when I say it, but you're only 1 or 2 deals away from being right back on top, right? We hear these agents that are doing these huge numbers. I just had this conversation with a coaching client yesterday or Friday. And I said, look, how much do you need to make in real estate? And they told me realistically, and like, we have our goals and then we have what we need to make to pay our bills. And realistically, this person needs to sell like 6 homes. I mean, so that should excite somebody. It's like, look, I only have to sell 6 homes. This is not an insurmountable mountain that's in front of me. And I know it can feel that way. So like I said, you never know. And my coaching students know this. I say this on every call. You never know where your next deal is coming from. So stop trying to make things work so hard. Stop trying to force things and let things come to you. Just be natural, be yourself. And there's so much opportunity out there. So I would just say, Ben, just stay positive. There's so much opportunity. Some agents are falling face forward into business. So that can be you as well. You just have to put yourself out there.
Matt, what about you? Are you coaching your clients in any specific way when they come in with just a really frustrated mindset of where their business has been and where they want it to be?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we do, if you one of the questions on our initial business assessment is how they rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5 as far as what they're doing to take care of themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, right? And so that's one that I always drill down on, because it's really hard to pour into other people if you're empty yourself, right? And so I think all 3 of those areas are really important. And so I love it if somebody comes in with a 4 or 5. That's not most people, right? They're coming in a lot of times 1s and 2s in that area. And so I'll first encourage them, like, that is an area to start putting some time into some self-care, pouring into yourself. And it doesn't have to be anything like over the top or complicated, right? It's just, hey, in the morning, you're going to take 30 or 40 minutes. Maybe you read your Bible or whatever you're going to read for 10 minutes. Maybe you read 10 pages or 10 minutes out of a personal development book, and 20 minutes just walking. Get outside or get on a treadmill and just walk for 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but do something for yourself and then build on that. So like that just sets the tone for the day when you start doing that. And then like Mark's saying, just reminding them that, yeah, this business, it can be a really lonely business when you're not doing well or when you're not selling, and I've been around, like all different aspects of it myself, and Mark and I have said this, and I've said this to him many times over the years, that I always feel like that, your outlook, the health of your business and the outlook is always your outlook on just your business and maybe even life is a lot of times tied to your pending sale pipeline, because you can have a ton of money in the bank, right? But if your pending sale pipeline is nothing, you're not going to feel real good about how much money you have in the bank because you're spending it, right? And you should have more money coming in. But even conversely, where let's say you had a tough run, you're down to your final few dollars, but you got a strong pipeline, you feel pretty good because money's coming in. So like I think like that's the thing. And like he was saying too, just a couple of transactions, fortunately we're in the kind of an industry where a couple of wins can put you right back on top, right? And you can be feeling completely different. But I do think it comes down to just really making sure that you're taking care of yourself first,
And we're going to drop our personal wellness assessment in the chat. If you don't have a copy of this, please use it. It's a great way just to kind of see where you are either on a monthly or a quarterly basis. One of the things that just from my own personal experience, I would come into a coaching call and I would just feel really down for whatever reason. I had high expectations that I wasn't meeting them or whatever the case may be. And one thing that Greg Miller did really well is he would help me see reality, because as a business owner, entrepreneur, solo agent, it's hard to see reality without the perspective from somebody else. And so if you don't have a running partner, accountability person that you're working with, Greg would help me see like, really, let's take a look at it. You might feel really bad about your business, but let's open the book. Let's look at the numbers. Let's see what you have in the pipeline. And that's why tracking these things is really helpful. The other thing that we would do is look at our net worth tracker, tracking that every month to see like, hey, I'm really not losing tens of thousands of dollars a month like I thought I was. And so knowing where you're at, I think is a great place to start when you have that tough mindset of just, let me see what reality is, and then making sure that you can, build on that from a monthly place. Greg, since you do that so well, how do you work with clients that are coming in and just frustrated mindset?
Yeah, I think when you talk about 2024, that seems to be, which is interesting. Of course, not everybody's been around through the early 2000s, but this seems tougher than them, which clearly it's not. There's some rough times at the latter part of 2000, like really bad. But there seems to be a heaviness and a weight this year, lawsuits, decreased units, bad news everywhere you look. See, it's very curious to me why that is. And I understand what that feels like when from the outside, everybody, people might be looking at you like, well, you've got this great family, great business, and everything's going great, but you feel horrible and you feel like you're moving in molasses. So what do you practically do? Well, I can tell you, just a side note, what not to do. So believe it or not, maybe I look my age, but I'm not a spring chicken as I once was. But I'm at home this weekend. My kids are home from college and I'm playing video games. I'm not very good at it, but I don't do it very often. But they set up the thing on my desk and I start playing Fortnite. And I'm like, this is really fun. I wish I could actually kill somebody, but this is really fun. And then I notice, I'm like, I feel a little sluggish. So what do? I'm like, let's scroll through some social media. I see a previous coach that I actually worked for a period of time, a long time ago, great impact on my life. And I see him flying in fancy cars. And I was like, wow, I think I'm coming down with a flu or something. I really, really felt bad. And it occurred to me, I'm like, I wonder if playing video games and scrolling social media is a good idea, because it made me, I don't do either very often, but it made me feel real bad shortly. And it just occurred to me, there's some things we should probably notice that make us feel bad. And Lars talks about this a lot, comparing ourselves to others, of which you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I don't know if people put the full facts out on Facebook. And I have a garage full of cars and houses I own and money in the bank. And I have a great life. And yet I'm feeling depressed. I don't have to work anymore. That's a good thing to know. But I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking, my life is terrible. I do not have a jet jetting me across the world to places. So maybe doing less of some things, but practically what could you do right now? Tony Robbins says, if you can be honest about where you're at and clear where you're going, the path there gets really good. Even if you're honest about where you're at and it's not real good. I'm overweight, I'm out of shape, my finances are total upside down. Be honest about it and not judgmental, but just be honest and then clear about where you're going. If anybody told you that, somebody says I'm 200 pounds overweight, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to lose 200 pounds in the next 18 months. And here's my plan. No, everybody go, yep, you probably do it. But if you don't have those, if you're not honest about where you're at, if you're not clear where you're going, it can get rocky. And I told him it costs $200. He goes, I think it's worth 3,000. Take this. I go, this is bizarre, but I listened to it 30 times, changed my life. Tony Robbins series built probably in the 90s. It's really good. And one of the things it talks about is getting clear about your goals, being thankful. And in 2010, there wasn't a lot to be thankful for, but you learn to say things out loud. The most critical thing I think I learned in that program was to say things out loud, even when I didn't feel those. I think a lot of us are waiting to feel good about prospecting, then we'll say how good we are at it. What if you just walked around saying, boy, I really like to prospect. I really like to talk to people. I really like to serve and love others over the phone and see if I can set appointments and find out what they're going to do. If we start saying the right things and speaking those things out loud, I really like to set my time blocks and honor those and start doing small incremental things towards that result. And these are practical things that you should take notice of, write down, put in a spreadsheet. So when you do get down, you go, oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not eating, not taking my vitamins. I'm not exercising. I'm not listening to Tony Robbins on a daily basis. I'm not reading something positive. I'm not going to church. I'm not praying, reading my Bible, whatever it is that you do that fulfills your life, then you can kind of check those off. But this industry allows us to run off the rails, and we see some bad results from it. And we all know about those. You read about those in Men Are the News, and you don't want to be those. But the flip side is also true. There's an opportunity that can start today. Like Matt was saying, you make 20 calls today, you will set 1.5 appointments. I almost guarantee it. Today, you can set 1.5 to 2 appointments. The numbers are, I can show you my numbers. It's repeatable. And across the US and Canada, you make 20 calls and you'll set 1.5 to 2 appointments on a daily basis. That, my friends, is an absolute miracle. Try that in any other industry. Try to go into some industry tomorrow and make money from day one. It's impossible.
And so I know one of the superpowers that they have is focus. And so, Matt, my question to you is, how do you decipher between an opportunity and a distraction?
Good question. So something I started doing more recently was looking ahead at the year and thinking in terms of, all right, what do I want to accomplish this year? What is my primary goal or goals, and maybe it's 2 or 3 at the most if you're thinking in terms of this, right? And then asking. So you have to be really, really intentional with your time, right? And where you're putting your focus. So asking yourself, and it's a habit, and I'll admit sometimes I fall out of it and I forget about it, right? But to ask yourself, this thing that is in front of me, whether it's an opportunity or something that wants my time or whatever, is this in alignment with what my primary goal is? And if the answer is no, then you have your answer if it's something you should be putting your attention on, right? There's a lot of good opportunities, money-making opportunities, right? But if you get yourself too diluted, you're not going anywhere, And I'll tell you like a good example of it, like Lars, Lars talks about how when he decided he was going to get laser focused on building his real estate sales business, he sold like a dozen investment properties, right? But what that allowed him to do was get that distraction away and laser focus on building a multi-million-dollar business that, netted him a ton of money, right? So that's why I think you have to really think about, what do you want? What's your primary focus? And then cutting out all the distractions, professional and personal. Just everything you say yes to is a no to something else.
So a friend of mine is on this call. They talked to Zillow recently, and Zillow said, hey, spend $4,000 a month for 6 months and we can get you X amount of GCI. And when you look at it, you're like, oh gosh, I'll spend triple that if you can triple my GCI there. How do you, again, stay focused and look at something like that's a distraction or this is an opportunity?
For me, I mean, the three of us have been in the business, or four of us here have been in the business longer than some people. So I understand if you're not seasoned in the business and you don't have some big Rolodex of past clients and things like that, something like that can definitely seem like a huge opportunity. If I had to break it down to its finite point, it's, what we really are as real estate agents. We are highly paid problem solvers in real estate. That's exactly what you are. You get paid a lot of money to help people solve their real estate problems. So for me, Ben, I know we need leads, but when somebody offers me a ton of leads for a ton of money, obviously it's going to depend on ROI. Do I have the money to spend at that to find out if there's an ROI on that? For me, I don't really want somebody taking me on some goose chase with 100 leads that I need to call. I know now, being in the business, that I can focus more on my sphere and actual conversations that I can have now than chasing some of that. I think it's a lead source is definitely a pillar that you need to have in your business, but for me, I think it took me years to find this out too, and every agent I talk to, whether it's in coaching or just in passing here, agents, when I'm on a mastermind or something, agents are just addicted to new lead syndrome. They say, I need more leads. I need more leads. We had a coach years ago, Matt and I, and Lars, that said, there's probably enough leads in your own cell phone to make you a lot of money, and that's free. So I would avoid right now where a lot of people are in their business chasing after some of those, especially Zillow paid leads and things like that.
Yeah. I was talking to a coaching client who's on the call here, and we were talking about the same thing on our last call. If you just double down on the business that you currently have and maybe go after the referrals a little bit harder, if you did 12 deals last year, you probably have, at least from those 12 deals, 12 more deals lined up from this year. The quote is, the easiest thing to sell someone is more of what they already bought. Not necessarily that our clients last year are going to convert again this year, but diving into them and being intentional about getting the referral from them, I think just having some intentionality around it will help drive business this year. Greg, I have a question similarly. When things are coming to us this time of year of like, oh, spend this money, spend that money, and you kind of have your 2025 budget locked in, if we're looking at how much we're going to spend on overhead, admin, staffing costs and marketing costs, and we're getting into the beginning of the year, how are you working your budget for 2025 Q1 in perspective of the whole 2025 budget?
I think first off, I'm sure you're ahead of this group is way ahead of the typical small business or industry. But Lars, one of the things Lars, probably the number one thing I learned from Lars, and I'm good at numbers, just maybe the only thing I'm actually good at naturally, but having a financial model. And it's not just real estate. Go into any small business. Most small businesses' financial model is, I work here 12 hours a day to make sure nobody steals the cash out of the register, and then I take the money out and I hopefully have enough to get this started again tomorrow. So it's not real estate, it's small business. So until you have a financial model, what 10% to staff, 10% to marketing, 10% to overhead, whatever to the agent, which some of you are the agent and are the owner and are the manager. So thinking about those positions and what you're paid for those, it is very hard to make a decision, because every decision comes at you with this reward that is, I would say, even more than potential. It's there, whether it's Zillow or some other crazy idea or good idea, it could happen, but we are inundated with opportunities to do that. First, establish your goals for the year, your general economic model, and then your budget falls out of that. And I think the reason we don't track real well, we don't look at our financials maybe on the monthly basis like we should, we don't track our net worth as we should, is because we don't really know what we're looking for. If you've ever sat on a budget and finance committee at your association or a nonprofit and everybody's looking at the budget, nodding their head, asking some key questions, and they go, okay, we'll approve this. And nobody guaranteed in that room has any idea what they're looking at. They're just like, it didn't change. I guess that's okay. It's because they don't have a model. They don't have an idea where should the money be going. Once you have that model, and in our scale program, Lars really goes into depth on this. And I watched that video again just this last weekend, and it's so good. So if you're not in that program, get in there and get that one day, put that on your list of things to do. But once you have the model, overlaying that over a year, the answers to your questions become simple. And I just did this with one of our highly productive coaching clients in Florida this morning. He watched that program. He goes, oh, I can't afford a marketing person right now. It just was completely crystal clear to him, because prior to that, it was just a decision in a vacuum. So start with a financial model and overlay that over what your projected budget is. Got a bit of seasonality throughout the year, and you can determine what that will look like financially for Q1.
So Greg, if I'm an agent and I've got this year I'm going to do 100,000 in GCI. So, whatever that is per month, $8,000-9,000 per month. And I'm going to budget 10% to marketing. Do I just dive into January 1, February, March, spending that portion of my marketing budget, or should I space it out a little bit differently?
I think that's a valid question. And I think with any money we spend, we have to look and track. And there's where tracking comes in. Where is our return at? For instance, I was talking to somebody this morning. They're doing their touch program. And well, what are the results? Well, I'm not really getting any. Well, what is your goal for those results? It's a 10 goal. I don't know. Well, how about a 10% return on the SOI? So if you could spend the money up front and you have a plan that's going to produce that business throughout the year, and you can cut one check to it, and that's going to work, and you vetted that, I would question that, but that'd be fantastic if it's spreading it out over the year. But it goes back to, what's your plan for generating business? This is your small business. What is your plan? Can you track it, and can you get return from it? So I think in general, I generally spread things out throughout the year, but I actually don't know why I do that. I just do that because that seems like the right thing to do. Maybe it'd be better if I front loaded that in January, some expired listing program, which we all should be doing right now. I think my answer would be, what you got to make sure you're getting returns. So this is real money, and we can't just keep cutting checks to third-party services and if you guys ask me one more time, ask me, what do you think about this? I just wrote them a check. I go, no, if a third-party service can set listing appointments for me, don't you think we'd have it done by now? So be very cautious about what you're spending.
Yeah. And I'll say too, most people, me included, I did not do this prior to, having B School coach me. You need to lead with profit. And so the mindset of, I'm just going to spend this money and there's going to be a profit in June or July or August is completely false. Profit is not an event. Profit is a habit. And so if you get into January and February and you don't have any profit, then you can't spend anything. And so being careful not to spend what you don't have, or I'm just going to charge my Zillow account or my Realtor account on the credit card and pray to God that these leads convert and that I'm, can get a profit at some day is not the best approach. So always leading with that. The staying in touch with your SOI and your past clients is the highest ROI you can get by far. This year, I'm putting around, 14, 15,000 into my database marketing. It will return me close to 300,000, depending on, what closes this month. And so the best way that we have found is just the cadence of weekly emails, quarterly phone calls, and some other regular touches with giveaways and, promotional things like that. That has been the basis of my database marketing. Now, I do have clients. I have one client, we're listing their house tomorrow. The photographer is actually going to be there in 15 minutes to take pictures. Over the last 5 years, they have transacted or referred 9 transactions to me. Now that person's going to get some gifting. I'm going to spend a little bit of money on a gift for them every quarter or every 6 months. And so when you have those people in your world, you want to treat them well. You want to send them gift cards or other nice little gifts. For the general database, kind of going back to the database marketing plan that we coach on, is set up some regular emails, personal touches, and maybe some giveaways or promotional things like that. That needs to be the number one lead gen pillar in your business because of the massive ROI on it. I hope that helps, Mark. We have a little bit of time left, so feel free if you have other questions to put those in. Matt, I want to ask you, is there anything that you personally have learned from one of your coaching clients that you've started implementing in your business?
I'm sure there is. I'm just trying to think if there's any, I'll often learn about, because there's so much in this industry, right? Like of different services or whatever. Like say, for example, like you want to get expired leads from RedX, right? And just learning about different either service providers or technologies, even sometimes some different scripting or whatever that somebody will be kind of just working through. So yeah, I don't have like a big answer here, right? I guess, but I mean, I'm definitely learning from my clients every day and every week as I continue to help them learn about what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I learned from one of our clients, great guy, been in the business a long time, but he never set up systems in his business. Been in the business almost 35 years, still spinning his wheels. So I learned how important systems were, of like making sure that I have systems in my business so that I wasn't constantly on this treadmill of trying to do the same exact thing over. Greg, you guys have a team. You have a pretty recognizable brand locally. You've got all your cars wrapped and everything. Justin had a question. From a new agent perspective, what are some go-to marketing strategies for creating a strong personal brand?
If I could listen to this comments, I just, I didn't like being new. I just wanted to not be new. But boy, if I could go back, how fun would that be? And it was easier when I started because we didn't have anything but an MLS that nobody could see but me. So it was a lot easier to learn one thing at a time. But from the beginning, the brand, like everything else, I'd start setting up systems to make sure I was talking to people, making sure that they knew I was in real estate and I was there to help. So I think we spent a lot of time worrying about our name, our team name, our company name. People just want, we're not going to convince a typical homeowner to move. If you happen to be there, you've got a 75% chance of converting that business. What we see happen a lot in my career, you spend so much time in the office that you're not talking to people anymore. So you got a chance when you're new, go out there and just start talking to people. Everybody wants to talk about real estate. It's super easy. Read your infographics or whatever report you have on the MLS, download the NAR statistics, and just start building your brand around knowledge. Do your 60 touch program, upload some interesting graphs and comment on those. So I would just say, don't sit around and think about how I can do something differently. Just go back to that surgeon model. I'm just going to do good surgery, just like my friend Mark is right down the road, just like Ben is right down the road. They're doing good work too, and just get after it and start talking to 20 people a day. Keep track, along with a referral. I seen during COVID, we did a bunch of meetings online. I saw this lady, not part of Rebs, but just random person that had tracked every sale on like a people chart. She saw where every referral and every sale came from over a 30-year career, and it was absolute fascinating. She had pages where it would show, and she go, this person, 60 deals from this person. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I lost track of who referred a lot of business to me, and I lumped them in and trying to love everyone. I turned out not loving very many people, I think. But so if you can, along Ben's point, if you can start keeping track of people and that top 20% that are referring the 80% of your business to you, you've got a great opportunity. And I just applaud, boy, what a wonderful life you've got ahead of you.
Yeah, and I think with brand and personal brand, everybody wants the mega, right? Everybody wants the social influencer brand, but really where it needs to start. And if you talk to influencers, this is kind of how they start, or real estate people at least, was build your brand with the people that know you, and then the people that know you, and then just expand that circle larger. But don't skip a stage and say, oh, I'm going to go and blow up this thing. It's going to take too long. So start small and say, I need to get the list of 200 or 300 people that know me best. I need to build my brand with those people. And then they're going to help fund the brand building for the next level. And then they're going to help fund the brand building for the next level. And so whatever you're doing, Justin, just make sure that you're starting it with the people that know, like, and trust you the best, and then go from there. Mark, what are you most excited about for 2025 in real estate?
I think an opportunity is coming. I'm one of those agents, and maybe like a lot of the agents here, I'm looking forward to a little bit more balanced market coming, hopefully. I'm actually excited. This is not meant negatively, but I'm excited if we do thin out the industry a little bit. It does not have to be you. Like Matt said earlier, you're one deal away, 2 deals away from like literally being right back on top. That's the nice thing about our industry. But I'm just excited about, I was 72% repeat and referral this year. I'm trying to get that above 80% because it is a much easier life. I still have all the pillars in my business, but I'm excited to fix some of the holes in my boat with a couple different things. And I look at everything as an opportunity. One of the other things I teach my kids every day, and I actually teach my students, are there is no losing in any of this. You're either winning or you're learning. So
Mark, there's a question. I think you'd be a good one to answer this here. If you were bringing your business back from the dead, like, what's the first thing that you would do?
We used to say if you blindfolded me and dropped me out of an airplane in an area that I didn't know where I was, didn't know anybody, what would I do? For me, I would, FSBO and expired's where I would start. That's low hanging fruit. I know people hate to hear that. That's just where I would go crush it. And then, once all we need, we're in this business, just like any business. And Greg kind of alluded to this earlier. We're in this business to have satisfied clients that'll feed us in the future. We're not in the house selling business, right? We're not here to sell somebody's house and then move on. We're in the people business. So, if I can get a couple past clients under my belt, now I have people that I'm just going to love on and nurture moving forward.
Yeah. Greg, there's a question from Jacoby. How can you utilize the economic model as a solo agent?
I think there's maybe no difference. And I don't think that and necessarily, you don't have to follow Lars' economic model. I've seen economic models from large companies running Zillow, for instance, but they're successful agents and the owner of that company, large business, but they have a model. So whether you're a solo practitioner or a large company of hundreds and hundreds of agents, first of all, both of them may not have a model. Surprising to, I think, a lot of us, when you look at large companies, you're like, oh, they probably got all this figured out. They're doing the same thing we are, just doing stuff and seeing if it works, and hopefully there's money left over. But with a solo agent, well, what's the plan for the year? What do you gauge in your production? How much are you going to put towards marketing? And sometimes, well, for me, it wasn't that I was spending too much either. I was starving. Some of us, I think, Ben, we talked about this. It may be you have to spend a little money on marketing. You're going to have to do some marketing to your sphere and to expired listings or whatever you're marketing to. Or you may need to hire staff if you really want to expand your time and go on to more appointments. So it's not always spend less. It may be spend more. But having that model will change your life, whether you're a solo agent or a large company, and understanding where your finances lie and where they should lie. And then it helps you make decisions in the future. If you budget 10% towards marketing, you can start planning on what that year would look like and what kind of, can you get a 4 times return or 8 times return or 10 times return from that dollar?
Yeah, I think that is, I think that's really good. And so it comes down to, are you tracking? What Matt talked about, the stuff that Greg was saying, and even Mark. are you tracking stuff? So if you are not a tracker, I would say commit in 2025. I had that same problem. I was, not tracking anything. I started tracking numbers. I looked at everything, and Greg helped me see that I was spending like 2% of my money on marketing. That wasn't healthy. I was starving that. I started shifting my money around a little bit, putting it where it was supposed to be. Things really took off. I started tracking my net worth. Things took off. I started tracking everything, every different thing in my life that was important, and things start to take off. So as hard as it might be, I would say in 2025, just have a really clear goal of tracking the things that are important. If money's not important to you, don't track it. If profit's not important to you, don't track it. If your weight isn't important to you, don't track it. If your relationship isn't important to you, don't track how many date nights you went on or what you did. But if it is important to you, you should have some kind of way to track it. We put the personal wellness assessment in there. We put the net worth tracker in here. Make sure that you have some way of tracking your finances so you can look at them on a regular basis and see where you are with it. I think if you just track things, track your calls, track your conversations. If you just track things in 2025, I guarantee you when we're having this same coaching call next December, your life will be drastically different.
I was traveling with a most successful person I personally know, and he's retired, and he has a Zig Ziglar planner. I'm like, what's with the planner? He's like, oh, I track everything. And I go, you're retired. He goes, yeah, but I still track, and I write my goals every day. I sit down with my wife and we write our goals for the year. I'm like, oh my gosh, success does leave clues, doesn't it? And for some reason, I just have to be reminded of that it's okay, that I feel silly about it, but successful people over and over. Hang out with Lars and you will be looking at a spreadsheet before long.
I know you guys are busy. I appreciate the people on this call. We're here to make your business better. We love that you're taking the time. I hope everybody has a great holiday. If we don't see you before then, take care, everybody.